This is Ronnie live from Toronto with part 2 of my Human Alliance Mudflap review. I finished off part 1 with the transformation. If you haven't seen that, go see it now. And here I'm going to show off some comparisons, his gimmicks, and I'll just go on from there and talk about the figure. So we have Human Alliance Mudflap in his robot mode. And if you've seen part 1, I pointed out that my Mudflap is a little bit unique because I am missing paint applications here on the chest, and I did get them in box. I said before in part 1, box, there you go, that's a box. So I am missing chest paint here, also the Autobot insignia here. Also on the feet, you can see that the wheels are molded in, but mine are missing the paint applications to it. But it's not a big deal. I think it actually makes my Mudflap unique, as I said before, so I have no problem with it, and even without the paint applications, he looks very awesome and very accurate to the movie model. So, I transformed Chromia in part 1, so I'll get them both together here. You can see that they're pretty much in size, I guess you could say. I'll also get Simmons in here, so he's the average human size. Also, I'll compare him with Sam here. So you can see that he is about the same size. Just get those out of the way. As for the gimmicks with the humans, his main gimmick, just like Skids, is that his big arm, which is on this side, will have, on Skids had the gun gimmick, this has a grappling hook gimmick where you pull this out and this out. You then take Simmons, and you can just arrange him to sit in the seat. You can tab him in, and you can get him to hold on to this, and right here, there's this little hook piece. Want to untab that, and if you just pull, he has a grappling hook, which is actually fairly long, I guess. At the side of the arm, there's a little piece you can rotate here to retract the rope. And a really neat thing is that you can tab the hook in so it won't be wobbling around like this. Just tighten it up, and it will tab into the arm, if you get it right, just like so. So that's his main gimmick, just like Skids and his gun, so you can fold that down. Or you could just have Simmons sit in the seat if you want. Again, just like Skids, you have his head turret thing, or machine gun above his head, just like so. And as you seen earlier, he has a very nice head mold here, some nice paint in there with the same gimmick. Push at the top here, and his mouth will open. I like that gimmick, along with Barricade and Skids has the same gimmick. On this arm, you could have any Human Alliance figure sitting here, but the only problem with that is that on this arm there is a gun on the other side, like so. You can see molded in here, it doesn't shoot any missiles, but if you want to have a human sitting in it, they'll be facing backwards. But there's no problem with that. I'm not too fond of the human gimmicks. I never use the human gimmicks when I display them. So maybe this is just one of those non-human gimmicks that is added to the figure. But that's pretty neat, another gimmick added to the figure. That's pretty much most of the gimmicks for Mudflap, other than he can hold the human figures like with the tabs in his hands like always. Very nice. As size-wise, he is pretty close to being a deluxe size figure, but I will show him off with Human Alliance Skids. So here's Human Alliance Skids. As you can see, they are relatively the same size. As I pointed out before on some of my other Skids and Mudflap reviews, the non-Human Alliance reviews, that they both have a small arm and a big arm. And I've said before, they each have it on different sides. Mudflap has his big arm on his left side, Skids has it on his right side, and you can definitely see that the big arm and the little arm are really accentuated in the Human Alliance figures. But you can definitely see they look really good next to each other, the details there. And even though they are part of the same mold, I guess you could say, they look very different next to each other, and I'm glad Hasbro could do that with the Human Alliance figures. I look forward to more of the Human Alliance figures in the future, but up until now, until Human Alliance Jazz gets released later in 2010, I believe, this Mudflap will be the last Human Alliance figure for a while. But still, he is a great figure. Posability is the same. He has a little more shoulder articulation up here than Skids does, but all around great figure. But if I had to pick one out of Human Alliance Mudflap and Human Alliance Skids, I would unfortunately have to give that to Skids since he was the first one, and Mudflap has these problems, and Skids is just that much more better than Mudflap. But Mudflap is a great figure, and if you're going to get one, you have to get the other one. So I definitely recommend you pick up Mudflap. Great figure. Doesn't get a 10 out of a 10 though. I really recommend him though. But as you can see, some of the detail molded in there. Very nice. Again, head mold is spectacular. Just great figure. Again, the small arm. He has some nice silver plastic there. 2 shades of orangish red, I guess you can say. Again, big arm. The colors are really neat. They're very visually appealing to me. So I'll get the whole set in there. Human Alliance Mudflap, Human Alliance Chromia / Blue RC, and I'll get Agent Simmons in here. Now, I hope you enjoyed this review. This was my first review after my 100th video. This was my kind of special video, I guess you can say. Like I said, it wasn't going to be anything fancy. I really like this figure. I hope you enjoyed this review. Hopefully I timed part 1 and part 2 correctly, but if I didn't, please forgive me. This is Ronnie, Laugh from Toronto.